Здрасте, люди добрые. Меня зовут Катя Каплан. Сегодня, наконец-то, после нескольких недель обещаний, моя дочка Катя, которая сидит вот здесь, слева,
Привет.
приехала к нам домой на Thanksgiving, и ее подарок, так сказать, всем на этот праздник, это ее рассказ о недавней поездке в Казахстан и в Узбекистан. Но в основном про Узбекистан будет речь идти. И не для тех, кто оттуда приехал, а для тех, кто оттуда приехал, и у кого здесь есть дети и внуки, чтобы они знали, что дети и наши внуки вот такого поколения, как Катя, поехали в страну их предков, какие у них были впечатления. Так что считайте, что это туристическое такое интервью. Мы будем немножко говорить по-русски, в основном по-английски, потому что основной язык у Кати это английский, как, впрочем, и у ваших детей, и у ваших внуков. Так ведь, наверняка, за редчайшим исключением. Ну, давай начнем сначала, Катюш. Значит, как тебе это пришло в голову, ехать в Узбекистан и Казахстан?
Но я хочу сказать, что мой русский очень плохо. Я извиняюсь для этого. Я буду говорить чуть-чуть по-русски и по-английски. Если ты не понимаешь меня, скажи что-то.
Сразу скажу, конечно.
Okay, so the original idea was I had a discussion with my friend Liana. And Liana, she's American, but she speaks a little bit of Russian. She went to school learning Russian in her courses. So she wanted to go to Kazakhstan, and I was like, I really wanted to go to Uzbekistan. And I've never met anyone that wanted
Why?
to go.
Because you like Uzbek cuisine?
I love, shashlik, lagman, all of it. But it originally started, I had a close friend in college that was Uzbek. And her family was Uzbek. She has family in Tashkent. So she would always talk about visiting there one day. But we're no longer friends anymore. But then Liana came along, and she also spoke a little bit of Russian and had interest in that part of the world and the history of the Silk Road. So then we just kind of agreed to do it all together.
Okay, did you have a plan, or you relied on the local guides?
We planned this for months on the different places we wanted to visit. So I knew that at least in Uzbekistan it was a little bit more straightforward than Kazakhstan, so I feel like we had to do more research for that. But in Uzbekistan, I wanted to go to Tashkent and then Samarkand, Bukhara. I wanted to be in Bukhara for my birthday, so that's how it turned out.
Okay, we'll be showing you some pictures from that journey with Katya's explanations, but I would rather for you to begin with your impression. What makes these two countries different from the rest of the world where you traveled before? I mean, people, the environment, the spirit. What's so different about Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan?
So, if I were to start with Uzbekistan, I would say it's has a lot of rich history and many different kinds of people and cultures. So it's a really interesting mix of sort of Middle Eastern culture, Russian culture, and Indian culture, which is notable in the mosaics, in the jewelry, and the clothing that people wear, the hats the men and women would wear. And it was also very traditional. So, women have to be covered up and have to observe the religion, but then there's also another side of people that are more Russian and Slavic, and they kind of reject the religious part of the country.
As an American girl, did you feel sorry for the local women because they are kind of suppressed compared to the American ladies?
I didn't feel sorry. It was just very new for me. I'll say in Tashkent, it was the most conservative place we went to in all of Central Asia in the whole trip. In Samarkand, in Bukhara, it was a lot more touristic. So you can wear kind of t-shirts that expose your arms, but even in Tashkent, we got a lot of looks if our knees were exposed or anything. And obviously, going into the mosques and mausoleums, you need to cover your hair, and that's something that I knew going into it, but even just being out in the bazaar, like in Chorsu Bazaar, like everyone was staring at us.
Well, actually, all religious enterprises, so to speak, in the world have certain limitations. Synagogues, Christian churches, girls cannot enter a Christian church in pants. They should be wearing skirts, and yeah, and the rest of the body should be covered. All right. So, how about the food? Because you tried the Uzbek food here in New York, and you loved it a lot. Is it really different over there with the same recipe in mind?
I mean, you just have more variety, and I really, really loved the food and the cuisine, and there were these tables and chairs that were very traditional. So you have sort of a cloth seating. It's very colorful. These short tables. You take your shoes off and you lay down. And oftentimes, Liana and I, we would go into these restaurants, and then there would be, these Uzbek guys that were like, come here, come sit, and have some baklajan ikra, have some chai, shashlik.
You're talking about street vendors?
No, so our first night, I think in Tashkent, there were these guys that invited us to a table. We were having dinner late at night, and they were talking about their experience, and one of them in the group, he's actually like based in Brooklyn. So he's an Uzbek guy living in Brooklyn. He's visiting Uzbekistan, and so we were like bonding over our experience of those differences, and they were just like feeding us lots of food, like lipyoshka, like freshly made, and lagman, like shurpa,
Okay.
vinaigrette, salad oливье, all of it.
So they smelled foreigners in you. That's why they invited you over, right?
Well, yeah, they heard us speaking English.
Oh, okay.
So we would speak in Russian to the wait staff, but then, they heard us speaking English, and so they're like, "Oh, you're from America. Like, why are you here? It's so far away. Like, why would you come here?" So, I thought that was, they were very open and friendly people, and yeah, the food we had was really amazing, especially in Samarkand. I had like a shashlik Napoleon, which is like baranina жиром.
Ah, okay.
Like
a
in
sandwich.
thin layers.
On a skewer, right?
On a skewer.
Okay.
And it was very rich. And then we had liver, and so there's a lot to try. It was very good.
Okay. Could you make any comments on the pictures, like this one? You're flying?
Yeah, this was in Samarkand in the mausoleum. Amir Timur is a very important figure in Uzbekistan and in the Silk Road and the history of the trade. So his territory stretched all the way from northern India through Uzbekistan, through Kazakhstan. So he had a very big influence on bringing industry and education around Islamic teachings in the country. But that picture specifically is a mausoleum. So it was just kind of a place to respect the dead, and it was rows and rows of those beautiful little domes and houses, and it was all blue and very vibrant, and it gets all lit up at night. And so in that specific alley, it was very narrow, so the space between each house was very close, and I just thought, to Liana, why don't I just start jumping? And then everyone was like, oh, prыгай, что, like encouraging me. So it was very cool to be there. And we actually, in both Samarkand and Bukhara, we did walking tours. So in Samarkand, we got a walking tour by this woman. She's Uzbek. She clearly doesn't really speak English very well, and so she got a lot of facts wrong. Yeah, it was like different. She was confusing the dates, and she was calling like a madrasa, like a school for girls, even though it wasn't.
How did you come across her if you knew better some stuff about Uzbekistan than her, a professional guide?
We just found the walking tour on like Walking Guru, I think it was
Okay.
called, and so we had a really amazing walking tour in Bukhara. And Bukhara is very different from Samarkand because Samarkand is like a huge city. It's like same thing with Tashkent in a way, except Samarkand, there you have this whole area near Rajasthan Square that is very walkable. So you can go around, you can sightsee without a lot of cars. In Bukhara, like as you see here in this picture, I was petting one of the local cats. It's a living, breathing museum. So like you can walk around, there are no cars, nothing. This is at a mosque, so I had to cover my hair. But there were a lot more tourists and opportunities to learn more about the history.
How about street musicians? What kind of music do you hear on the streets, if any?
Yeah, they had these like traditional guitars, you know, with like the round bottom. I'm kind of forgetting the name of it.
Sitar?
No, not a sitar.
Okay.
That's Indian.
Indian, yeah.
Yeah, it's a different like local instrument. There would be people that were singing, and then I think in one of the pictures, there was like hookah, and so then there were a lot of traditional like harps and guitars, and the singing is kind of reminiscent of sort of a Middle Eastern sound.
So nobody sang in English or Russian?
They sang in Uzbek mostly.
Okay.
And there was also parts like in Chorsu Bazaar where none of them understood Russian.
Okay, tell our audience something about the budget part of your journey. What is your advice? Where to go to? I don't mean any particular hotel, but how to choose a place to stay at in terms of safety, comfort, and budget.
Uzbekistan was very safe. There was never a point where we felt in danger. I will say we stayed mostly in hostels where you meet other fellow travelers that are, you know, we met people from Australia, we met people from Germany, from England.
How many people per room?
So in Bukhara, we had the entire hostel to ourselves. We also had a room to ourselves. So we had two beds in one room. It was a very, very nice place to stay. The woman there was very sweet. She was talking to us about the history of the building. It's 300 years old, and it had wooden carvings on the ceiling, and it was probably $20 a night, something like that. But you really don't need to spend a lot of money. I will say Uzbekistan is significantly more expensive than Kazakhstan.
Because it's more popular, probably.
Yeah, it's more popular. More people tend to go. We noticed, I think, there are a good amount of tourists from India as well that make the pilgrimage. It could be for religious significance because of the Islamic cultural.
And what was your major means of transportation?
Yandex.
Okay.
Yandex taxi. Or
Even from town to town?
no, so like from Tashkent to, so we went to from Tashkent, Bukhara, Samarkand all the way back to Tashkent. That was all the train, and it was they have speed trains, so they go pretty quickly from place to place, and they're very inexpensive.
Speed trains like in Europe and Japan?
not like 300 miles per hour, but instead of something like, I don't know, 5.5 hour journey, it's like 3.5. So they go slightly faster. And then
On the street,
there's also like sorry, I don't know if you showed the picture yet, but there's in Tashkent, same thing in Kazakhstan, in Almaty. The metro is very beautiful. So there's marble, there's chandeliers. It's quite something to see. And actually in Tashkent, there's not too many things to see in terms of history, but I think the metro was one of the things that stuck out. There was a whole station, I think it was near the Chorsu Bazaar, and it was about like cosmonauts. And so that was very nice.
Okay. How about street life? Because you are obviously an open-minded Western girls, and people would definitely want to communicate with you. Who expressed more open, mindedness? More boys or girls? What age? Have you ever been approached by older folks asking where you guys are from?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everyone. I would say we did get some attention from like the local boys. They're very curious. Many of them have never met an American before, so I think they're very excited to talk to us and get to know us. When we were in Samarkand near Rajasthan Square, we were just like walking around. This is the day after we took the walking tour, so we learned a little bit about the history, and then we went back to just see things a little bit closer. And what ended up happening was that these girls, they were very young. I think they had to be like in middle school, and their English was quite good because they're going to a language school. So they were very excited to talk to us about their experience in Uzbekistan, and then the places they would want to go to. We talked about how we're from New York, and they're like, wow, it's such a crazy city. I could never imagine being in such a place. And yeah, it was so like we got those young girls that were interested in speaking with us, but then at night we definitely had all kinds of people. Once they hear English, they spring up right away.
When I go to Russia, people mostly talk about themselves. I don't remember ever going back to my motherland when people would ask me anything about the American life. But it's an older generation. How about the younger crowd in Uzbekistan? Are you generally interested in details of what the American life is like?
They're interested in what American life is?
Yeah, are they?
Yeah, because it's completely unfamiliar. I mean, their only exposures through media, right? It's through movies. So I think when they have the opportunity to speak to someone that lives across the world, they're going to ask about it, and that's what happened.
How much are they politically engaged?
That's another interesting thing, because Liana and I, we're very interested in politics and history, and because we were equipped with some Russian, I know I'm not speaking it now, it's just, I think, for the flow of the interview, it's easier for me to speak in English. But when we were there, we were able to converse a little bit easier with the local people, like taxi drivers and tour guides, local
How
people.
did their attitude change depending on what language you communicated with them?
Oh, yeah, it was immediate. We went into a scarf store, there's like textiles, and then at first we were in Samarkand and Bukhara. There's a lot more tourists, so they're more exposed to people that don't speak Russian or Uzbek. So we weren't always sure whether to start conversations in English or in Russian. So in this case, we went into the store not speaking Russian, just speaking English. And then somehow it came up that we spoke Russian. And then she's like, вы говорите по-русски, я вам дам скидку сразу.
Вы даже не просили, она сказала, что даст?
Да. Честное слово.
Yeah, okay. So it's an advantage to know foreign language.
Yeah, but to your original question, what was it?
The question was about how people's attitude in general change depending on what language you communicate.
Oh yeah. So it's like immediately they become very happy and they're like, wow, your Russian's like really good, because clearly they can hear that we're Americans, and so American tourists don't have the best reputation when they're traveling in terms of learning about the culture and learning the language, especially Русский очень трудный язык.
Because they think that Americans are arrogant?
Yes.
Because they're rich and fat?
Yeah, in a way, it's more about the ignorance part of it and not bothering to learn local customs. But I think your original question was about politics.
Yeah.
Everyone asked us about Charlie Kirk.
Really?
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere.
Why do you think so? Because he was killed and he was 32, so he's closer?
It's because of how prevalent he is online. His content is being pushed out worldwide, and obviously it was a public political assassination.
Yeah.
It's no laughing matter in that sense, but it's just kind of like they were asking us, how do we feel about Charlie Kirk? And then we would ask them back, like, what do you think of Charlie Kirk? Because you're less close to American politics. And I think it was interesting for me to find out, at least with the younger people, that they were not really for him and what he was speaking about.
They were more interested in the crime scene and the surrounding hype about it, right?
I think so.
Because I understand nobody asked you about the JFK assassination, right?
No, that's not. I mean, it's not really like as culturally relevant as Charlie Kirk, I think, right now.
Any Trump-esque talks?
Not really, actually. I mean, we also just didn't speak too much politics. I mean, it's not always a fun conversation. We also went to Turkey, so I think in Turkey we got to a little bit more Trump politics, Erdogan, the similarities and differences, but that's another conversation.
Was there any conversation? I understand you're too young for that kind of a topic, but Ukrainian war plus the corruption in Ukraine is what makes Uzbekistan closer to that country, because they're also known for corruption in that country. But the corruption in Ukraine maybe ultimately led to the war in a way. It was one of the factors, I believe. So or was it too deep and boring for the younger crowd?
We just didn't touch it.
You didn't touch it?
Yeah, it never came up, and it's
Okay.
not something that we wanted to get into like deep division about.
How about saving the planet?
No,
She's left.
I'll say this, in Tashkent and Samarkand, there are so many cars. It's hard to breathe sometimes when you're walking along the street. It's very car dependent. Same thing in Kazakhstan. And I know this is a whole conversation around Uzbekistan, but I have to say it's kind of a crazy story. When we were in Almaty, we landed in the city, and it was so smoky. It was really bad, and so we were asking our taxi driver, is it normally this polluted? There's a lot of smoke going on. And he just said, oh, there are a lot of cars. It's also in a valley, so there's like mountains surrounding this land, and then the air gets trapped, causing sort of a perfect storm. So I was just like, okay, that's one explanation of it. And so then a day passes, and then we start, exploring the city. We went to the Ascension Church, which is actually the one Russian Orthodox church in the city, that's like really well known, and like a lot of tourists go to it. It was very hard to breathe. And after we went to the bazaar, it was also getting worse and worse and worse. And we met up with Liana's friend, who's Kazakh. She's from Astana. Her name's Adele, and she was like saying, sorry guys, this isn't normal. I mean, yes, there are a lot of cars here, but it's never this bad. And so then, some more time passes, we're doing more exploring. We're in the Kazakhstan Hotel, which is very famous. It's kind of like a Soviet structure. It kind of looks like there's like a crown on top of the building. We went to the very top to see the view of the city, and it was so smoked out that you couldn't see anything really. And so she looks it up on her phone, and it turns out that there was a landfill that caught on fire, a dumpster fire. So we were breathing in like trash, smoke fumes all day. And it was, I think it was like the second worst air quality in the world for that day when we were there.
Okay, I understand that I haven't covered some topics with my questions to you, so would you like to elaborate on it?
I guess it's just I recommend it as a place to visit. I think it's a very unique part of the world. There's nowhere else like it. There's so much history that like even it encouraged me to read up on it afterwards, and it's a very beautiful part of the world that not many people know about. So
And it was inspirational to you, right?
yes.
Окей, ну что, дорогие друзья, я предлагаю вашим детям и вашим внукам написать комментарии к этому видео и задать Кате вопросы, которые папа ей не задал. И Катя обязательно вам ответит. Хорошо?
Хорошо, договорились.
Катька, спасибо.
Спасибо.
Всё,
Всё.
всем счастливо.